Welcome to Life in the Bricks podcast, where we talk to real people about programs that enhance our community so that we can build bigger and better portfolios while providing options for our residents to achieve self-sufficiency. I'm your host, Tony McGinnis, Executive Director, CEO with the Huntsville Housing Authority.
Welcome to season 2 of Life in the Bricks podcast. 2024, February 2024. I want to thank my co-host, Fred McGinnis, for being here on the podcast today. Today, man, is very, very exciting time. We're going to actually talk about the motivation behind the podcast. And this is a book called Life in the Bricks. And you'll be able to get the information about the book in the podcast. There'll be a link where you can just kind of go, and if you want to buy the book, you'll have the information. There'll be a link that's available in the podcast, and you'll just be able to go through. You'll be able to get this book digital. We have it a digital copy and a hard copy as well, paperback. You'll be able to get this, and it'll just kind of talk about what we're going to be sharing with you all today. Season 2 is going to be very, very good. We got a lot of people who are lined up to talk about life and housing and just different issues that they face and obstacles that they've overcome. So I'm really excited about season 2. I'm so excited that we actually have the opportunity to do this podcast. I want to thank Lakeisha Wheeler. She's behind the scenes who helped us put this together. Last year was great, but this year we really are looking to do some great things, and there'll be some spinoffs from this podcast as well. But the book, again, is called Life in the Bricks. You'll be able to go get this book on Amazon, and we'll be able to share the link with you after the podcast. But I wanted to just kind of give you a brief overview of why I actually wrote the book. This book really is about life in public housing. I think there are stories that are universal, whether you live in Huntsville or whether you live in California. There are universal stories that can be told on how we had to live, and some of the things that are so universal when it relates to the experience of public housing. And, I just feel like those who know, they know. Those who don't know, they'll find out, because I mean, it's an interesting place, and those who make it out, they're interesting people. They have to overcome a lot to get out, and it's not an easy task, because people dump you into a neighborhood, and they don't expect really anything good to happen. But I'm a testament, me and my brothers and our friends who just kind of had a plan. We are testaments on making it out, and you can make it out. And so this book talks about life in the bricks and 10 lessons on how to make it out of the hood. And I just want to go ahead and just dive into it. Fred, you got anything you want to share before we dive into this book and some of the stories that we can share based on this book?
Buckle up, people. Buckle up. It's going to be all right. If you hadn't already read the book, then just be prepared to if you see Tony in person, or if you want to give him a call to kind of discuss. And Q&As are always good, but it's a great book. It's the story and life of the McGinnises. That's what it is.
I want to start by acknowledging Antonio Howard, who is a friend of mine. He actually wrote the foreword to this book. Mama used to say is what he started out saying. And I'll give you a chance to go through, and you'll be able to see kind of what he wrote in this foreword. And very, very promising author. And I hear he's going to be doing a podcast as well. And so I'm interested in reading actually listening to his podcast as well. But in the book, I want to just kind of jump into the introduction and just kind of, again, just start talking about, man, why do a book like this? Why kind of put your information out there so that everybody can have an opportunity to jump into your life. And this is why. I'm just going to read the first part, the introduction. It says, growing up in the hood is tough, very, very tough. Not everybody could do it. Drugs, crimes, violence, hustle, and teenage pregnancy are a few of the elements that make up the many stories in the bricks. It takes a major heart to endure the trials and temptations the bricks has to offer. I often wonder how I made it out. Then I wonder, do you ever make it out? So many people physically leave, but the pain and heartache never go away. Most folks run as fast as they can, but too far is never enough. They think they can forget about the hood, but memories always remain. And man, when you start thinking about where I am today and some of the things that I had to overcome, why in the world would I choose a profession to come back and work in a neighborhood where I'm reminded of the past every single day that I come back and drive to work and hear some of the same stories? And so the introduction just kind of gives you a glimpse, a, just a glimpse of what we had to go through in these neighborhoods. And it's not all bad. I want everybody to understand that it's not all bad, but man, there is so much trauma that's attached to growing up in these neighborhoods all across the country. And I don't know, I feel like some of it's intentional, but then also feel like, it provided a safe haven at times. But the basic foundation is housing, for people who have been disenfranchised, for people who aren't on that level to afford a mortgage on a home or the high cost of rent. So it's a baseline foundation for a lot of people. And because rents are so cheap, that's the only place that a lot of people can go. But when you put a concentration of people in a certain area where they don't have access to a lot of resources, then man, it becomes a tough environment. And so that's what we talk about in the introduction. And anything that you want to, anytime you want to chime in, Fred, please do so, because I'm telling you, man, this book is a life story of three boys who grew up in the 70s and 80s in a place that we used to call Little Vietnam. And it wasn't called Little Vietnam because there was a lot of Vietnamese people living in the neighborhood. It was literally a war zone. And that's where we grew up.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the nail when you say that all of the trauma that we've been through and all of the experiences that we had growing up in the hood. Uh, why would anyone in their right mind want to come right back in to this place professionally and work in the same place that gave you trauma, nightmares throughout, still have dreams about waking up in Mason Court, 103 of Mason Court, and knowing that that's just not the case, but it's there. That's called trauma. What gives you the right mind or the audacity to do it is because you want to be a light to those that are living it currently. You want to show them that, hey, look at what I've done. Look at what I've been able to do. Go to be uh, be a student athlete at Butler High School. Move on to Texas A&M University. Leave out of there with a journalism degree in '95 in 4 years, and and just show what's capable of what a person like that is capable of doing. I think that is lovely. And we always question, man, why would I do that to myself? But you do it because it's God's work, and so that's why we're doing it. But yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, absolutely. So I'm ready for you to dive in.
So when I started the book out, I start out by saying, let's get ready. And so again, we start talking about life in the hood was quite different for me. I saw things at a young age that I probably shouldn't have seen. Even now, one of the problems I think we have in our neighborhoods is we normalize trauma. We normalize some of the things that most people would say, man, y'all need to get help.
Right.
You know, I can remember just some of the violent acts that used to take place, and we were thinking, okay, well, somebody just got to fight. That's normal. Somebody just
Right.
did this. That's normal. And those things aren't normal. Some things kids aren't supposed to see. Sometimes relationships happen that are not supposed to happen. And so when you talk about getting ready, man, I want y'all to really strap in and strap up, because I'm telling you, this thing can get deep and you won't even understand. Now, I don't want people to be terrorized by what they hear today, but at the same time, I want you to understand how important it is, man. So when I say get ready, man, get ready to open your eyes up, to learn, to just kind of explore and find ways in which you can help. Because I'm sure if it happened to me or if it happened to us, there are certain things that are still happening, and they probably are happening all across the country. And again, don't want to scare anybody, but at the same time, want to shed light on life in the bricks and what this book really is talking about and what it means. So I'm gonna dive into chapter 1. It says, "Let's do this." And in this chapter, I really just start talking about an inappropriate situation that I was in, where my babysitter pretty much molested me as a kid. I mean, we don't necessarily, at the time, didn't call it that, but that's what it was. It was an older teenage girl who was my babysitter, and when we played house. She played house for real. It was more so of a relationship where a young 9 or 10-year-old kid is having relations with this older teenage girl. And so for me, I'm looking at it as a red badge of courage. And so when I think about that, I'm like, man, here I am dealing with grown folks issues at a very early age. And it had an impact on me for the rest of my life. And I'm just kind of writing it down and sharing it helped me understand that, some of the pain that they might have gone through, and they took it out on me. And again, that's not normal, but what we did was normalize it. And I can imagine that situations like that are still happening, and she wasn't the only one. And sexual activities that happened, man, it just blew me away. And kids need to understand that there's help out there. If something like that is happening to you, you don't have to go through those kind of situations, because it's not normal. You're not supposed to be having those kind of relationships as a kid. And so
Absolutely. Yeah, we don't. You don't want to uh, want people to think that that's normal when your babysitter is taking advantage of you, even as a young man. They say you always hear these stories about when teachers are messing with young males, and yeah, young men say, or older guys say, "Man, where was these teachers at when I was in school? You really didn't want that trauma." As big and as cool as you think it looks, it's even worse when on someone's mental when it comes down to it, because it makes you think that this is what life is supposed to be. Every person you come in contact with is supposed to act like this. It's supposed to give you this service, and it's just not the case. So yeah, man, it's challenging. It's challenging to get through. You know what I mean? It's a behavior that if you're not if you're not strong, can really lead you in the wrong direction.
exactly. And so that was a very trying time. And again, we didn't think anything. We thought it was cool. Here I am, a fourth or fifth grader, and I got a girlfriend that's in high school or whatever. And I'm like, man, that's so messed up on all different angles. And so the next section of the book talks about three becoming one. And this is really just talking about how close me and my brothers were growing up in the neighborhood. And me being the oldest, I realized that I had to set the tone for them. I really um and we grew up in a single parent home. My dad was always involved, but he didn't live in the home. When I was older, he actually started working in the neighborhood at the housing authority, which ended up being a blessing. But me, my brothers, we shared everything. We shared beds because at times my mom would have folks that spent the night, and those nights turned into weeks, and those weeks turned into months. And so we would have to share a room, we'd have to share beds. And it just became, we became one.
Right. Mama had a
And
B&B going, man.
yeah, I mean, even
Cousins,
back in the day,
friends.
cousins, friends,
Yeah, in a 3-bedroom. Crazy.
and
I was asking Mama Tony earlier. We were talking on the phone, and I said, Mama, what's the biggest apartments, biggest, the largest size apartment you can have in the project? And I guess because I was thinking about some people that had a bunch of kids, and she said, I guess 5 bedrooms. Tony, is that what it is? You can have 5 bedrooms.
yeah, we can have five. We got 5 bedrooms now.
That's the
Yeah.
top. That's the top. Like you can
Hmm.
have. Okay, yeah. Because I was wondering how some of these people could live with so many kids, but I guess with 5 bedrooms, you put 2 or 3 in a room. That's safe. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I mean, for us, man, it became, I can remember granddad staying with us, and he be in that back room, and of course, mama had a room, and then 3 boys sharing a room up front with
Yep.
bump with a set of bunk beds and a twin bed. But man,
Yep.
we became so close, even though we were different in age. We became close, man, and we shared a lot of stuff. And I can remember mom always saying, you don't need a bunch of friends. Y'all got each other. You know,
Yep.
y'all got
Play
enough.
with each
And and
other.
and
Yep.
and we did. We shot ball together. We ate together. We became close growing up in that neighborhood. And really, the reality of that is, we were able to look out for each other. So that 3 becoming 1 is definitely a real situation. But let's talk about this for a minute, man. Let's talk about the boyfriend from hell. We got to talk about that because in the book we talk about,
Uh,
man, boyfriends, and I know a lot of kids will be able to relate to this. But we had my mama had some friends as we grew up, but this one particular guy, man, just got on our last nerves. And I talk about him all the time now. And I just don't seem like it was ever anything right about this dude. What do
right.
you say?
Hell, man. Uh,
Yeah, man. I want to say his name, but he
you can
just
say
was
it.
not. He was not a good dude, man. And
I say
he
it.
didn't.
I say it.
No, don't say his name. Don't say his
Okay.
name. I don't
All
even want
right.
to put him out there because.
All right.
But he was a guy, man, who, uh, if you talk about bad examples for young boys, he definitely was a bad example. He didn't do anything to cause us any harm, but just a bad example, man. Didn't really do a lot of work. He
Right.
thought he was funny, thought he was cool, man. I'll never forget one day coming home and I had some Jordans, man. He had my Jordans on, and I almost lost it, man. This dude had my
Uh,
Jordans on, and then he didn't have no socks on with my Jordans, and
yeah.
so that really put me in a bad spot, man, with him. And I just wanted to fight him. And see, the other side of that is this, growing up in the neighborhood, you always thought that there's not a dude that's good enough for your mama anyway.
Right.
So if he showed any signs of just being a shyster, man, you just kind of you spotted it real quick. And so but this dude right here, he was the epitome of what not to be when you grow up.
And it's funny you say that because the environment we were raised in, we had experience in knowing when someone wasn't right, right? So you couldn't shyst us because we were seasoned in knowing when you were a bad person or a person just trying to get over, right? And I think immediately, I think even at a young age, immediately we saw what we knew this guy was. And then when your mom gets up and go to work and, and he stays home and you know what I mean, and he's in her robe and just chilling like he the king. You just know that ain't what it's supposed to be because you got friends. You actually got good examples. of what a
Hmm.
man's supposed to be from people we were around in the Boys and Girls Club and some of the residents that was in the projects at the time. So you knew exactly what a man was supposed to do. So when he wasn't meeting those expectations, I think it was a no go for all of us at that time.
Yeah,
And
and I had a dad, man, who was my role
right,
model, so I
right,
knew exactly, what to stay away from, and so, um, nah, it wasn't a good fit, man, and so when we talk about what those 3 chapters or those 3 sections pretty much relayed, 3 becoming 1, the boyfriend from hell, and the other section, man, the lesson in that is protect your children. I don't care where you
absolutely.
are right now in any part of the country. When you live in these neighborhoods, man, you got to do all you can to protect your children. You got to protect them from all kinds of things. It's your responsibility,
Yeah,
nobody else's. You got to
yeah,
do all that you can to make sure that they get everything that they need, whether it be school, the neighborhood, putting them in safe places, after school. Protect your children. That's the first lesson when we start talking about all this stuff in this book, man. You got to do all you can as a parent. No, you can't think about what happened to you and how it happened to you. Your responsibility once you have children, man, you got to protect them.
make
Anything
sure
you
it
want to
doesn't
add to
happen
that?
to them. Make sure it's not happening to them. Yep, it's amazing. It's amazing that we were able to experience that and still turn out to be decent people, man. It's just crazy. And that's just a want to. And that's just like not wanting to fail. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. So the next portion of this book, man, I love this portion. It talks about back to school shoes. Everybody had to have some fresh kicks when they went back to school, man. You better not try to go on the first day and not have a brand new pair of fresh kicks. Not something that you can get. No, you better have some fresh shoes. And I'll never forget, man. Mom, she used to make sure we had some fresh shoes when we went back to school. And you better not play in those shoes when you get home from
Right.
school. So those back to school shoes were very, very important.
Yeah, that meant everything. That meant everything, especially in a place where uh jokes were plentiful, especially. You would think the way that some of us dressed that we were living in the middle class homes, right? With the shoes and the clothes that some of us wore, but man, it was all about that first day of school, and not just shoes. We're talking new clothes and everything. You know what I mean? So it's just crazy how much we put on things like that. You know what I mean?
Oh man,
Crazy.
it's,
So
it's, it's serious. But it gave us a sense of dignity, man, going into that school. But
yeah,
when I sit back and I think about it, why was that so important? Because everybody in the neighborhood was struggling. So
yep,
why, but at least our parents did enough to make sure we went somewhere, presentable. And going into that school was with new shoes on was very, very important. So as we talk about school, though, I want to talk about this. I write about this in the book, man. It's called The Blind Side Hit. You remember this more so than anybody. I can remember one day we were walking home. Well, we were walking to school and we were late. And
mm,
really, I don't know why we was in such a bad mood, but we were walking to school one day and all 3 of us got hit by a car.
yep,
And I'll never forget, there was a fence that protected us from smashing into the house. So
yep,
there was a fence in between us and the house that we were walking next to. And if that fence wouldn't have been there, that car probably would have smashed us into the house and the outcome would have been a lot different.
absolutely.
And I think about you in particular being stuck in between the car and the fence. And I tell y'all, I write about this in the book. As a 5th grader, I remember having the strength from somewhere to lift that car off Fred and get him to a safer place, man. You
Yeah.
remember that?
Yeah, it happened. I remember it. I mean, I was probably not unconscious, but I remember the stories of that. Your brother left that car off for you. You know what I mean? You just like, what? You think about it now, and it just sounds crazy. But you know, in a moment like that, with adrenaline and with the power of God, it happened. It's no telling if that car had stayed on me any longer because I was hospitalized for what? How long was it, Tony?
Man, it was over a week, man. And
Yeah,
I can remember just, we never did really have an opportunity to come visit you. Mama stayed there, but being hospitalized, man, that's again one of the things that happened to us as a family, man. That was some
yeah,
early lifehood trauma again, on top of everything else we had to go through. And you'll see more about why I even put that in the book when you
right,
when you get a chance to read it. And
right.
then on top of that, I want to talk about graduation, man. What about those elementary graduations?
They were all the rage, boy. I tell you, you get greased
I
up by your mama, get your little white shirt on, everybody in a cafeteria. It's time to go, baby. It's go time.
Man, I can remember and I can appreciate it because they wanted to make sure they sent us off to middle school and they had
All
done
right.
everything. Terry Heights, first of all, Terry Heights was a very special place.
Yes, sir.
Um, Terry Heights, man, we had teachers who cared about us. They made sure that we had everything that we needed. They made sure it wasn't no saying to a teacher at Terry Heights, you didn't have your homework turned in. Oh, well, you're just gonna get a zero. No, you didn't have your homework turned in. You didn't get a chance to go to recess. They made sure you did your homework, whether you had to stay after school or whatever. They made sure that they prepared us for life. And so
Yeah.
I'll never forget Terry Heights. But man, this graduation thing as a fifth grader, man, I'll never forget a parent, my mom going to a parent and saying, look, man, why are we getting so excited about this fifth grade graduation? They'll have other graduations. But when I think about it, that was the only graduation some people
Yeah.
experienced.
Yep. Didn't make it to that next one, bro. Because you don't graduate from middle school to high school in Alabama. You graduate fifth grade. I think you may have a kindergarten graduation, a fifth grade graduation, and then high school. It's a lot of time in school, and that's a lot of things going on in the hood to kind of derail you from that. And like you said, we had friends, loved ones that didn't make it to that graduation in high school, man, which is really sad. But that's trauma in itself, just sitting back thinking about that, like, wow, craziness.
Man, I mean, fifth grade. I'll never forget. Mama looking at this lady and saying, and parents in there crying, and they were proud and they were crying and they were happy. And she looked like this is not gonna be the last time they graduate. But for some of our friends, man, fifth grade graduation was the last time they graduated.
Crazy.
And man, that was deep within itself. And so that leads me to the next lesson. Education is the key.
Mm,
If we're gonna help our kids grow, we got to make sure that at a minimum they graduate from high school. They
right.
got to make sure that they have a chance. They don't have to go to college. They don't have to, uh, but they got to graduate from high school, man. 80% of the kids who don't graduate from high school end up incarcerated. 80%. So our kids need to at least graduate from high school, learn a trade. If they
Oh,
want to
that's
go
what
to
I was about to
college,
say.
go to
Yeah.
college, but get a trade. Do something that you can do forever.
Yeah.
Become your own boss. I wish everybody had the opportunity to go to college, but we know that's not reality.
Right.
So our kids need to be educated to do something that they love doing, that they can do for the rest of their life if they choose to. Anything you want to add to that?
No, that's really important. I was going. You said what I was wanting to add to it about getting a trade because college isn't for everybody. Man, we went to school because of basketball. You know what I'm saying? I think we did enough work to make sure that we were eligible to play basketball. I don't think it was it was something that we just absolutely loved. You know what I mean? And just to be honest with you, it's not for everybody. So a trade or something
Hmm.
like that, finishing high school and a trade, so good enough, man. I mean, you have nurses that don't have to go to school. You know, they can go and become a nurse by what going. I mean, the school, nurse school. I guess what I'm saying is about you don't have to go 4 years to be a nurse. I think there's a couple of years you can go to become a nurse. There's 2 years or something that you could do at a junior college or something. So find some way of getting a trade or some way of being uh, a responsible adult, be it learning from someone. An apprenticeship is even something that you can do. Learning from someone who owns a lawn company, learning from someone who's a engineer who does refrigeration, HVAC, stuff like that. You don't have to go to school for that, but you just have to put your time in.
Exactly, exactly. So we're gonna go into the next um, part of this book. Is called Bright Idea, and I think about this too because oftentimes people think that um, people who grew up in neighborhoods like we grew up in want to be there,
Right,
and their parents want them to be there, but that's not the case.
right,
Sometimes people just fall on bad luck. Sometimes people are just at an income level where they can't do anything else. So I want people to stop judging folks because they have to live in some of the neighborhoods that we call the ghetto all across the country, man, because that's not the case, man. We got people who they're working their way out, but it's hard when now inflation is having a major impact on how people can afford to live, and the resources are, they're not as growing as fast as the cost of living. And so don't judge, because there are so many people, man, who are good-hearted people who live in these neighborhoods who don't want to be there, and they end up there because of a situation. Then there's some people who just struggle, which leads into my next point, man. It's called "It's Hot in Here." Um, I'll never forget, man, the day that, I'll just say this, hit the fan, man. And I'll, we tried to figure out ways to beat the system. Didn't have enough money to pay the utility bill, and it was dead hot in the middle of the summer. And we used to have this thing that we did where I mean, just being transparent, we used to take this meter out they used to put little plastic strips
yep,
into the utility meter to cut the lights off. And we found a way to take them out so that the meter would run. And it was on a particular day that my mom was getting ready to go to work. And she was like, "Hey, y'all want me to fix these utilities?" And we like, "Nah, man, it's hot.
right,
We need this air to stay on. It's the middle of the summer. This going to go to work. We'll do it when we get up." Well, at about 9:30, 10 o'clock, and you live in these bricks in the middle of summer, it starts to get hot.
right.
And that day it started to get hot, and I wake up and I'm like, "Oh man, it's hot in here." And I go to try to plug the fan in, and it wasn't working. The little window unit AC wasn't working. I said, "Oh
Oh,
man." I went outside and looked at the meter, and they had taken the whole meter, not just the strips out. They had taken the whole meter, and we just didn't. We were getting ready to experience something that I
right,
think shaped who we were going to become. Because man, we were
right.
going to have to struggle through the summer without utilities.
Wow. Tony, I think we were a little behind in the times because I think because when they take the meter, y'all, you guys the little silver piece there, right? That normally attach the meter to the. We should
Hmm.
have taken the whole meter, right? Maybe we should have
Yeah,
taken the whole meter because if we'd have done that, then we'd probably been safer. Or they've been knocking on the door to get it back. They would have got in, but
yeah.
we know how to stave you off. But yeah, man. As a kid, I remember that and you were so upset, Tony. You were so mad.
Man, I was hot
You were so mad.
because I felt like, it was my fault. We should have probably just got on up like we used to do. Gone to the
Just get
Boys and
on to the
Girls
Boys and
Club
Girls Club. Yeah, yeah,
and just play that game for the rest of the summer, but just kind of wanting to sleep in, man, they took our meter. And so we had to experience for the whole summer because mama just didn't have enough money to pay to get the lights back on, pay the down payment to get the lights back on, and pay
Right.
the fee. So she had to work a little bit to get the situation back together. And I'll never forget, man, just some of the stuff that we learned how to do during that summer, man. Like, for instance, I tell people this all the time that, man, y'all struggling, y'all, that summer, we actually had to use a cooler for our refrigerator.
For the
So every
refrigerator.
day we go to the store,
For
get some
lunch
bucket
meat.
of ice,
Yeah. Yeah.
put the milk in there and
Yeah.
eggs or whatever it was into the thing, into the cooler, and that became our refrigerator for the whole
Yeah.
summer. We
That
had stuff
became
that if we
normal,
had to
Tony.
put,
That
huh?
became normal.
It
That
became
became our
normal.
normal. Yeah.
Just that was our refrigerator for the summer. Going to the store, getting some ice, putting that stuff in the cooler, and it lasted. We would eat sandwiches or whatever we had to eat, just so that we wouldn't become a burden to somebody else. And then, man, I remember having some great people around us because we had neighbors who would let us run an extension
Yes,
cord from
sir.
their house to our house so that we can watch TV for, just a minute or so at a
With that
time. And
stretchy cord, we had a fan on that bad boy, a TV. We could get our ironing done, the stuff we needed to do.
man,
It was a whole deal. Yeah.
and
Wow.
and so that summer though, sack lunches became that much more
Ooh.
important to us because we knew if we got up, if we, ate a bowl of cereal, whatever it is,
Yeah.
put the milk back in the cooler, we can go to the Boys and Girls Club and act like everything was okay.
Yeah.
And when those sack lunches were ready, boy, they were ready and they were on time. We'll go up there and we'll eat those sack lunches and we'll do everything that we could to just stay active and busy all day. And when I think about it though, I'm like, man, somebody had to know we didn't have no lights.
Well,
Some of the
man,
people
we
that was
tricked them.
around us.
I think we tricked them because they saw the TV on. If they didn't see the TV on, other lights on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you see a TV light, this place, it's a couple times you could walk around the neighborhood and see a little flicker. That was a candle. You knew they was out. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we had the
Yeah.
TV, and that kind of saved us. But if they'd have walked in
Yeah.
the back of the house, they just saw the extension, us bootlegging
Wow.
lights.
Man. Made it normal. Once again, made
Man,
it normal. Which leads to
normalize it.
my next lesson. There's no such thing as a free lunch, man. No such thing. You got to take care of your business. I don't care who you are. And although our mama worked and she tried to do all we can, you still got to take care of your responsibilities, man. Those lights got to be paid. Now we got a situation where the housing authority takes care of those for most of our units. That's a part of the rent. And so, you can't live in the neighborhood now without utilities. I don't know if that was a rule that happened because of us, but
No,
I
yeah,
tell you,
yeah.
man, it it
And
it,
and
it
just even nowadays, period. If it's extremely hot or extremely cold, the utility company ain't gonna cut you off. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they're not gonna cut you off. They don't want. I mean, it's a little better than it was back in the 80s. But man, they would cut you. They would come get it. If you weren't paying, they
yeah.
were coming to get it. Yeah.
And I tell you, man, this kind of that being the case and knowing that there was no free lunch, um, they stayed off a little longer than they needed to, which leads to the next part of the book, man. And once those lights were still off, we had to go to the country, man.
Oh.
And when I tell you
Oh.
we had to go to the country, my mama
Yep.
took us, and that was our first experience in going to the country. And
The
it
country.
seemed like it was an hour and a half drive. It wasn't about now you think about it, man. It's what 25 minutes, 30
That's
minutes to
it.
get to Tony, Alabama.
Right.
But man, because we didn't have any lights, our
Uh,
auntie, she allowed us to come out there and live with her in the country. And we did not want to do that. I mean, we
wait.
kicked and screamed all the way. And when we got there, though,
Mm.
Man, we had the best time, man. Just being in the
Valuable,
country,
valuable lessons, man.
man. Just not
Valuable
having
lessons.
all the hustle, the street lights, all the noise. Man, being out there in the country, living with them
It was
during that
weird at
summer,
first. Yeah.
man. But we learned so much about so many different things. And that became our routine, man. Summer after summer, we go out there, and every summer, those first 2 days, we hated it. But by day 3, man, we were loving it, man. Fishing, riding bikes, playing with dogs and horses and all kind of stuff, man. And so that became our home away from home, man. So lesson 4, it takes a village. So
Yeah.
if you're struggling a little bit, you got to make sure you got people around you that understand, hey, I'm here for you. And for us, it was our aunt and our cousins, man, who really looked out. And we ran that little section,
Yeah.
Turner Circle. We
Yeah.
had cousins who lived on one side of the street, cousins who lived on the other side of the street.
Your
And
daddy who lived in the back. Your pops lived in the back.
eventually my daddy moved out there. And so
Yeah.
that became our neighborhood, man. So understand it takes a village, and understand who your village, who should be a part of that village, because everybody shouldn't be a part of your village. And for us, it was people like our cousins and folks like that who became a part of our village, who really made us that much more stronger. So I appreciate that village, man.
Absolutely. Couldn't have done it
So
without it. We learned so much
yeah,
out there,
yeah,
man.
yeah,
Squirrel,
yeah.
how to skin a squirrel, how to skin a squirrel. I saw my first state trooper. I thought all state troopers was 7 foot tall, by how tall those guys were when they came to the trailer, man. Just a lot. Trailer
Mm-hmm.
living, not having
Mm-hmm.
running water. Come on, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a lot.
yeah. And so there's a phrase that says a man that doesn't work doesn't eat, man. And so I start talking about that in the next session of the book. It's called Let's Eat. And when I think about that, I always think about, even as a young person, um, I worked, man. I helped out as much as I could. And even when you guys got a little older, you got those summer jobs and you worked. And we did what we had to do to help. And
Yeah,
we hated it, but we did it. And we would have to help out our mother at times. And there were times when, we'll go and work for the city program, and she want half of the check or whatever. And we just had to
right.
do what we had to do. But
Absolutely.
it taught us valuable lessons. And when I think about the next lesson, man, is get money, because that's what we had to learn how to do. There's a couple of ways growing up in the hood that you're gonna get money. You're either gonna do what everybody else doing, illegal, or you're gonna go out here and try to find you a job. And I'm fortunate that we had an example of a mother who went to work, so we didn't have to struggle with having to make those decisions on whether or not
Right.
we were gonna hustle, because we had opportunities. I mean, they were
Yes.
right there in our face all the time, and friends who kind of got caught up in that thing, but we chose to take a different route. And because we chose a different route, um, we were able to stay out of some serious trouble. So when you pick up this book, you'll understand more of what I'm talking about. And but I tell you, one of the funniest stories when we went to the country, though, was that time, man, you and Sid got drunk, and y'all probably went but 7, 8 years old.
Off the beer.
Man, my cousin was getting ready to have the showdown of the summer, and they had went and bought all this beer. And Sid and Fred, they were super bad. They weren't just bad; they were just super bad, man. And I can remember y'all just going into the back and started drinking, and y'all didn't know what y'all were doing. Y'all just
Right.
drinking, turning it up, and next thing you
Thirst.
know, y'all falling out the trailer. And I'm like, man, what's wrong with these boys, man? They falling out the
Uh,
trailer, man. And then we found out, me and my cousin went to the back and we saw all these empty beer cans. And we said, oh man, these boys drunk. Y'all probably had drunk a half a case of beer.
Hey man, we were thirsty. You know what I mean? We used to having Kool-Aid and we was thirsty. Sweet tea wasn't enough. So and here's the crazy part about it. It wasn't the first time we tasted beer, right? We
Yeah,
had tasted beer before. We had uncles, we had
yeah,
aunties, uncles that drank it. So we tasted beer before. But when nobody around and y'all was doing what y'all was doing, man, said snuck to the back, got in that cooler, and had us a good
yeah,
little time.
yeah, man. We had some good times out there, man. Like I said, we learned how to fish, learned how to do a lot of things in the country. And which leads to another lesson that I talk about in the book, man. Sometimes you just got to get away from it all.
Yeah.
People in the inner city, man, they need a place where they can go retreat and just
Yep.
get away from some of the stuff that we had to go through, man. And so I encourage all of our families, man, people who might get a chance to look at this book or just listen to us, man, get away from it sometimes because you need it. We got
Yep.
a little time left, but I'm gonna jump through these next three, man. The next one is the neighborhood bullies, man. Uh, you're gonna have them. We all had them. Um, Either you're gonna run the rest of your life, man, or you're gonna stand up to
Man,
them.
there you go. There
What
you
we
go.
did is we had to stand up to the bullies, man, because we were easy threat.
Yeah.
3 boys, skinny, needing a bunch of dental work, you know, um, just easy prey.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think about it all the time, man. If I hadn't stood up to some of these guys, man, they would have ran me crazy. And so every neighborhood is gonna have some bullies, and the way we chose to deal with bullies, man, is to stand up to them. And which leaves me to the next lesson is, man, you got to know who you are, man. You got to let
Yeah.
people know from time to time that you ain't gonna run, man. You're gonna stand. You might whoop me today, but I'm gonna stand up on principle, and I'm not gonna let you run over me. And I think that's a part of my character today, man. I stand up to the bullies, and not just bullies, man. People who just think they're gonna take. Um, I have to stand up, man, because that's what I always had to do. Had to learn how to stand up to those bullies, man.
Yeah.
Anything on that, Fred?
Yeah. No, no, absolutely. You did. You set the tone because uh, um, that's what said and I did following up. We just knew we weren't. And I mean, that was. I think you knew Mama wasn't having it, and your dad wasn't having it. So we know Big Bro wasn't having it. So we were gonna do what we needed to do.
Yeah,
And guess what?
yeah.
Stop. They wouldn't come forward. They wouldn't come around no more once you show them what was good. So
Right,
uh,
right. You got to stand up for yourself and let people know who you are, man. Um,
and
Couple
stand up
other
for
things,
others. And
and
stand
stand
up
up
for
for others,
others.
man. Because
Yeah.
there's some people who didn't have family and didn't have
Yeah.
folks like we had, so you had to stand up for others. Um, One of the things that I talk about in this book too, man, that I think is important is 4th of July barbecues, man. Boy,
Summertime.
man, the
That's
summertime and them 4th of
that's
July barbecues, man, they were awesome. Again, we whoever wanted to eat could eat.
yeah.
You know, you cooked enough not only for your family, you cooked enough for people, expecting people to come over and eat. I mean, especially people that you love, man. And in the
Right.
hood, you love folks, man. And so my home is your home, and vice versa. And so I think about some of the things that we did in the summer that created community, which leads to the next lesson I talk about in this book, man, is creating valuing your community, man. Create value in your own community. It don't matter where you're from. It don't matter if you live in public housing, live in a nice neighborhood, man, create value where you are
Right.
because it's so important. It's so important for people to understand and appreciate your journey. And so we created value and just bringing other people into the fold. And we did that a lot of time through eating and summer activities, 4th of July and things of that nature.
Right. If you're trying to push a narrative and you want people to come, have food and music, and you'll have opportunity to get those people where you want them to be to hear what you have to say. And
Right.
that is the one those are the two things that will allow you to be successful. If you're in any business as well, in any business, if you're gonna have food and music, they gonna come. Anything. So
Exactly.
that's what we did.
Exactly.
That's exactly what we
Yeah,
did.
man.
And you talk about, man, food from everywhere. Everybody's okay. So Aunt Petty go make this slaw. Okay, Mama go stay on the grill. All right, we go have some folks bring some drinks. So it was just a big party. Like it was like a block party, and we just
Yeah.
ate and ate all day.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Then at night,
Put,
you'd already know what it was at night.
yeah. Yeah. You put those speakers outside and everybody got a good vibe and we playing good
Yeah,
music.
flag
Yeah, man.
football, touch
Oh
football on the
yeah.
side of the
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Except that one time Jacob came down and started playing that music from Star
the
Trek.
house music,
Uh
the house music.
oh my goodness, I didn't know what he was doing. But he said that's what he wanted to listen to. So we let him listen to that for a little while. But then last two chapters, man, we talk about the place that I call the safe haven for us, man, the positive place for kids, the Boys and Girls Club. Went to the Boys and Girls Club every day after school. The reason I like the Boys and Girls Club is because it really helped me to develop a plan. I could be who I wanted to be at the club. I didn't have to put on a front. Those guys at the club helped us be who we wanted to be. And man, that was important. That was
Right.
important having people
Even
that could
even showing
support you.
even showing their flaws and all, you still respected them. You know what I'm saying? You still respected them for who they were, and you learned and you developed. You know what I'm saying, through them. But yeah, man, I liked it because they weren't perfect. You know what I mean? I like the people who he looked up to. Not everyone's perfect. You know what I mean? It makes it a lot difficult to follow someone when you set them so high on a pedestal, or they set themselves so high on the pedestal. The fact that they made mistakes let us know it was real. You know what I mean? And till today, I still respect that. I
Exactly.
still,
Exactly,
yeah,
man. So next lesson, man, is have a plan. And the Boys and Girls Club really helped me develop that plan. And so I definitely appreciate everybody who poured into us. And then the last thing, man, is not only have a plan, believe in the plan. And our young people need to know once they create a plan, they got to believe in it. Everybody might not believe in it, but you got to believe in it because it's your plan. And so that's pretty much a brief overview of Life in the Bricks, man. But hopefully when you get the book, you'll enjoy it. And this is the first one, man. It might be a redo of this book here later. Hopefully we'll get somebody to take it and massage it a little bit and really help us bring out the stories. We tried to be safe in this one, but
yeah,
I think the next version or volume 2 might be a little deeper. But man, I'm so grateful for finishing that project. I didn't really have a chance to promote it, but this year definitely is going to be promoted. Life in the Bricks. You can get it on Amazon, and it'll be in the link at the end of this podcast. Fred, man, anything you want to add about Life in the Bricks today and kind of what the
yeah,
purpose of this podcast is?
yeah. The purpose of this podcast for us, for you, and for me joining in is to bring light to the life that is lived in uh, in the projects in the low income communities. I mean, just because you don't live in a brick apartment doesn't mean you're not from the projects. There's people that live in houses that are considered ghetto or project, right? So it's all about a lifestyle that we want to bring light to and give light as well. Not only do we want to place a microscope on it, but we want to show you a way to get out. And so that's what this book is about. This book is about, like he said, a family that struggled but had great times doing it. And that's the primary um, that's the primary path of this podcast. But I was going to ask you before because I'm gonna bring this book to the screen. Who would you want to play your role as Tony? The young. Oh, I need to have Tony, the young lad, and then I need to have Tony, the old lad who's playing the young lad.
Man, there's a lot of good young actors out there. I'm not real particular on who I would want to play the young Tony.
Hmm.
Um, and I'd probably let me see. For the old Tony, it would probably be what's the London cat?
Idris.
Idris, man. You gotta get Idris
Okay.
to play the old
Okay.
version of Tony, man. So yeah.
Okay.
But
Okay.
it's funny, man, because when you think about everybody having a story, everybody could bring their stuff to the big screen, man. And
Yeah.
again, this book is not necessarily the final journey, but it does kind of bring some highlights. And I want to challenge those who might listen to this today to get back involved, man, in your neighborhood. You made it out for a reason. You made it out for a reason. So now it's time to get involved in some aspect of your neighborhood. I don't know what that is. I can't tell you what that is for you, but man, you got to get back involved. You got to get back involved and help some of these young people, man, because were it not for grace, man, where would you be? And it's a challenge, man, to get involved in your neighborhood. Go volunteer at a Boys and Girls Club, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, do something to help somebody else, because you never know what help they need to be able to be the next CEO of some company or the housing authority that they grow up in. And so I just want to challenge everybody. And Fred, thank you for just being with us today on this first episode of 2024. And we want to thank Kiki in the background for making this happen for us. And so again, book is called Life in the Bricks. It will be in the link below, and look forward to everybody just kind of going out and getting it and helping us come up with ideas on how to make it even better. So that's our show for today. Thank you all for joining in, and share this on all your social media platforms, man, because
share.
It's starting to get some traction, man. And so that's what we want. We want traction. And we got an awesome show. We got an awesome schedule for the 2024 season. So we're looking forward to it. So that's it. That's a wrap for us today. Thank you.
We've come to the end of the podcast today. Please share the link on all your social media platforms. We hope that you all will join us again next time. Until then, keep serving and keep pushing. This has been another amazing episode of Life in the Bricks podcast. Peace.